Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salam ashrafu al-anbiya al-mursalin nabiyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallim wa alayhi tasliman jami'an kathira. Two-thirds, 2 out of every 3 stars in the sky are named after a Muslim. Let me say that again. 2 out of every 3 stars in the sky, when you look up to them in the nighttime, are named after a Muslim. And it's no mystery why that is. It's because we discovered the stars. We mapped the heavens. If you discover something, you get to name it. So for example, if you look at stamps from any country in the world, every country has to put their name on the stamp. Because if you don't put your name on the stamp, how do you know where the letter is supposed to go? Every country except one country. Can anyone tell me which country does not need to put its name on a stamp? This country, England, because they made stamps. If you make something, if you discover something, you get to name it. For every other country in the world, it's .co.uk, it's .co.in, .co.it. It's not .co.us because the Americans made the World Wide Web system, it's .com. We map the stars. And so 2 out of every 3 stars are named after Muslims. We were a people who not only mapped the stars, we were a people who lit up the world. When Europe was plunged in darkness, Cordoba had street lighting. We were a people where a scientist could stand on his roof in a small town in Uzbekistan, and he could calculate the diameter of the world, and he was only wrong by a few kilometers. We were a people who were discovering not just diseases and cures. We wrote the book on medicine. We wrote the book on geography. We wrote the book on historiography, on sociology. This was the Muslim world. But then look what happened to us. Look what happened to us. We became disunited. We became defeated. We were destroyed. And 100 years ago, when the Muslims were going through a very bad time, almost no country in the Muslim world was without occupation. We think that we're going through a bad time right now, but 100 years ago, literally, the majority of the Muslim world was ruled by France, Russia, and England. Not just influenced, but ruled by them. So in India and Pakistan and Bangladesh, where many of us come from, 3 people stood up. One was Sir Syed Ahmed Khan. Sir Syed decided, we need to change this. We have fallen from where we were. So we're going to change this by establishing a university, a school. We need to learn about science and technology, because this is why the Muslims have fallen. This is why we've gone backwards. We don't know science. We don't know technology. So we need to learn this. So he set up the Anglo-Muhammadan Muslim University, which is now called Aligarh Muslim University, so that the Muslims could learn science and technology. Another person stood up. His name was Maulana Qasim. Maulana Qasim, he said, why have the Muslims fallen? And he decided, the Muslims have fallen because we have left Islam. We're not true Muslims. We don't know our religion. So he sat down with one student under a tree, a Deoband tree, and he said, I'm going to teach you Islam. And that's how you got the madrasa of Deoband. And from Deoband you had all the Darul Ulooms that you have in South Africa and here even in the UK. And another man, Maulana Muhammad Ali Johar, a lawyer, he stood up and he said, the Muslims have fallen because we are disunited politically. We need to unite politically and save our Khalifa in the Ottoman Empire. So him and his family started a movement, the Khilafat movement, a movement which even Gandhi was part of, to go and try and save the Ottoman Khilafah. They went all across the country raising money and raising funds to save the Khilafah. 3 men, one working to help Muslims become strong in science and technology, the other working hard to get Muslims to get closer to their deen, and the third to get Muslims to become politically active and united and organized. All of them did great work. All of them did beneficial work, and all of their legacies will survive till this day. But they all lost. They may have won minor battles, but they all lost the war. The Muslims are still disunited. We're still uneducated. 45% of the world's Muslims are illiterate. And we're still leaderless. So my brothers and sisters, what's that got to do with today? We didn't just lose in India and Pakistan and Bangladesh. We lost everywhere. We lost in Algeria and North Africa. We lost in West Africa. We lost in Central Asia. We lost and we lost and we lost, and we haven't stopped losing for more than 150 years. So what's that got to do with today? My brothers and sisters, this is what Nur Islam means. The solution to our problems is not just to educate ourselves in science and technology. It's not just to become better Muslims. It's not just to become politically active and united. It's to do all three. Because if you only become very well educated, then you will become a doctor, a lawyer, engineer who has a Muslim name, but you have no attachment to this ummah. Do you guys know who Abdul Fattah Jandali is? Does anyone know who Abdul Fattah Jandali? You all know Abdul Fattah Jandali, but none of you will admit it. Who knows who Abdul Fattah Jandali is? Abdul Fattah Jandali is better known as Steve Jobs, the inventor of the iPhone. Steve Jobs, his father was a Muslim. Father was a Muslim. And Steve Jobs was born as Abdul Fattah Jandali. But his father gave him up and he was adopted by Mr. and Mrs. Jobs. If you are incredibly technologically literate or you are amazing at your job, you could become the discoverer for the cure for cancer. But if you have no attachment to this deen, then you will not be an asset to this ummah. And if you are the most religious Muslim in the world and you pray and you fast and you memorize the Quran and you memorize the Hadith, but you have no attachment to this world at all, you have no knowledge of how this world works, you have no ability to influence or change anything because you know nothing about this world, then again, what use are you to us? You are building your akhirah while our dunya is going to be destroyed. And finally, if you try to unite the Muslim world politically like we are trying to do, but your people are either the illiterate religious or the literate murtad, you have no hope. We need to bring all three together. We need a vision that says that deen, dunya and akhirah is for us, not just one of these. We need a vision that has the Quran in one hand and the science book in the other hand. We need a vision that says that we can be united, brothers and sisters, African and Asian, wherever we are. For me, this is what makes Nur al-Islam special. It's not the school, it's what it represents. In this school, they're learning not only to become a professional, but they're learning Quran. They're learning to be good Muslims and good citizens. They're learning what the difference is between, morals that come and go and morals that we live by and stick by, our principles and our values. This is what makes this special. They're doing a fundraiser for their school and they're not doing it detached from the rest of the ummah. They're doing it for Gaza as well. This is what it means. This is why I think this is important. Because history teaches us that when we divide our religion into parts, we will lose. But if we unite it, if we unite the deen and dunya and akhirah, we can win. And I'll finish with this one last point. About 50, 60 years ago in Algeria, a large group of Muslims gathered in a graveyard in Algeria. It's a strange sight. No one was being buried. There was no funeral, but they were at the graveyard. They came up to a grave and they walked up to the grave, and then one man with a stick hit the grave 3 times. And everyone started crying. Why did this happen? Algeria was under the colonization of the French. And the colonization of the French was horrible. If people had to choose, they would rather be colonized by the British. Because the French were inhuman when they were colonizing wherever they colonized. They killed more than 1 million Algerians. More than 1 million. And they didn't stop. They treated them like animals. They made concentration camps. And the Algerians kept losing. So one scholar, his name was Ibn Badis. Ibn Badis said, we need to become better Muslims. And we need to become better in science and technology. And we need to become united. We need to do all 3. So he started working on it. He united the scholars of Algeria. He started speaking to the youth of Algeria. He started traveling all around Algeria. He even set up a football team. And people asked him, you are a sheikh, why are you making a football team? He said, because Islam covers everything. I don't want to divide between anything. I want to be with the ulama and the young people. I want to be in the football stadium and in the coffee house. I want to be in the parliament and I want to be on the street. Islam covers everything. And he worked every day of his life to kick the French out. And when he was dying, the French had not left. So Ibn Badis said, when I die, after I die, when, not if, when you kick out the French, come to my grave and hit it 3 times so that my soul will feel happy that we are free and the French are gone. My brothers and sisters, that's a legacy. This is how you build a society. When people plant seeds for trees that they know they will never ever be able to stand under the shade. When you are planting a seed and you know that you will never sit under the shade of that tree, that's when the society will become great again. I ask you, my brothers and sisters, today, what seed are you planting? What seed are you planting for your future, for your akhirah, inshallah? This is one opportunity. With a school like Nur al-Islam, don't look at it as a school, look at it as a concept of deen and dunya and akhirah. Invest in that concept, grow that concept, make sure it reaches your communities and your homes, make sure it reaches your life, so that inshallah one day people will gather around your grave and give you the good news too, that remember this ummah was weak. Do you remember one day Gaza was under occupation? Do you remember that one day we were laughed at? Your soul inshallah will get sukoon from that. Jazakallah khair.